Hello and welcome back to Reading Past Midnight. I'm Ron Rutstein, and this is the first video in our Genocide Reading Project. This is focusing on, obviously, the literature surrounding genocide, not just of the Holocaust, although that is probably the most well-known genocide, certainly the biggest of the 20th century. But genocide has been around for a very long time, and it would be naive to think that there was only one. So we will be exploring through literature, through fiction, nonfiction, poetry, theater, whatever we can find. Multiple genocides, hopefully a little bit of the psychology of genocide, what drives hatred, the idea of memory, of not forgetting what happened, of not accepting people who deny what happened. Today, to open up the series, I'm going to be looking at the writings of Charlotte Delbo. Her book Auschwitz and After, which is available in English translation from Yale University Press. It is still in print. It contains actually 3 books. The first book is None of Us Will Return, which was translated in the 70s. And you could probably find a copy of it, maybe on Abe Books. Second book was Useless Knowledge. And the third book, The Measure of Our Days. And posthumous publication, Days and Memory. I don't think this is still in print. This is the Marlborough Press. Oh, you would probably have to find this at one of the used book sites. This is the shorter of the two. It's about 125 pages. But both books contain basically a lot of short pieces that are very powerful. Charlotte Delbo was an actress originally, and she was in South America touring when the Nazis invaded France in World War II. She and her husband returned to France in order to help combat the Nazis. They were part of the Maquis Resistance to the Nazis, and they were captured together. I don't remember exactly when. And they were imprisoned. Her husband was executed by the Nazis, and after being imprisoned for a year or so, she was transported to Birkenau and was a prisoner there for a year and a half, I think. After the end of the war, she felt that it was important to be a witness to what happened, and felt that literature and the arts was an extremely powerful way to be that witness. She did a lot of writing, mostly short pieces, poetry, and she wrote some plays that are very, very powerful about her experience. Fiction pieces as well that take different perspectives about what happened. And she wrote about different things that took place after the Holocaust, what happened in Spain with Franco, things that happened in Greece during and after the war. Those pieces that were post-World War II are collected in Days and Memory, images associated with other places, with Spain at the time of Franco's dying, Colima in the Soviet Union, the Plaza de Mayo in Buenos Aires, with Kalavrita, a Greek village martyred by the Germans, with Nauplia, visited during a vacation in Greece after the war, deeds, faces, utterances preserved in memories, stories once heard and never forgotten. Days and Memories, which is this book, weaves a logical continuity between the not-so-distant past and the ongoing present. And that's an important message that I'd like to carry on. This is ongoing. This is still part of our world today. And we need to face up to that, and we need to hopefully somehow get past this as a species. Otherwise, perhaps we are doomed to destroying ourselves. Maybe I'm taking that too seriously, but maybe I'm not, given the violence that we perpetrate upon each other on an almost daily basis, especially here in the United States. This is from a poem from the third part of Auschwitz and After, Measure of Our Days. Whether you return from war or from elsewhere, when it's an elsewhere unimaginable to others, it's hard to come back. Whether you return from war or from elsewhere, when it's an elsewhere which is nowhere, it is hard to come back, for everything in the house has grown foreign while we were in the elsewhere. Whether you return from war or from elsewhere, when it's an elsewhere where you conversed with death, it is hard to come back and speak again to the living. Whether you return from war or from elsewhere, when you come back from over there and must relearn, it is hard to return, having contemplated death with eyes wide open. It is hard to relearn, looking at the dull eyes of the living. Very powerful piece. I think it's important that we recognize that people who have been through such horrific things as the last of the Holocaust generation are dying. There are very few left. Leave us with generations of other victims. Rwanda comes to mind. There are things that these victims have to say that we may not be able to understand because their experience is so different from ours, that we need to make an effort to listen. We need to make the effort to not ignore, which is the easy path to take. We need to understand that the after effects are still going on, that the political situations sometimes never recover. What's going on in Israel and Palestine is playing out as a result of what happened in World War II. What's going on with Native American populations in the United States has to do with what has been perpetrated against the Native Americans for hundreds of years as the Europeans moved in and wiped out populations. What's going on in Africa still has to do with the political situations that were left when the Europeans divided populations and faced them off one against the other. This is all ongoing. Some of it is new. Some of it is politically created for the expediency of the oppressor. And it goes beyond racial hatred, because we can pit people of what we would call of the same race, but maybe of a different tribe, against one another for political ends. One of the books that I'll be reviewing in the near future, it's an overlap book with the Genocide Project and the Very Long Book Project, is Franz Werfel's 40 Days of Musa Dog. I just started reading this. I'm about 100 pages in. One of the statements that is made between two of the main characters, they're having a conversation and talking about the political leaders in Turkey in 1915. Why are they perpetrating the hatreds against the Armenians when there's absolutely no reason for it? And one character says there is a reason for it. They're using it to maintain their power. They're using the hatred of one group against another to justify their power and to focus the attention of the population on something other than what they might be focused on, which is maybe they're not doing their jobs, or maybe might be unpopular for some other reason. Let's build our popularity around the hatred of the Armenians, and let's focus the population's hatred against the Armenians. It serves a political purpose. It serves a financial purpose. It serves, I don't know, some type of psychological purpose. Why do we need to hate? In one story, Charlotte Delbo writes about a group of gypsies that were brought into Auschwitz, and there was a gypsy woman who was holding her baby, and this is a little gruesome, so if some of you want to turn the video off at this point, please feel free. The woman refuses to give up her baby who has died. The SS are trying to tear the baby away from this woman. The gypsy has been clubbed to death by a policewoman who tried to pull the dead baby away from her. This woman, hugging her baby to her, had fought, butting her head, kicking, protecting herself, and then striking with her free hand, a struggle in which she had been crushed despite the hate that gave her the strength of a lioness defending her brood. The gypsy had fallen dead in the snow. The corpse collection squad had picked up her body and carried it to where the corpses are stacked before being loaded on the truck which dumps them at the crematorium. The mother killed, the policewoman had torn the baby from her arms and tossed it on the garbage heap in front of which the struggle had taken place. The gypsy woman had raced to the edge of the camp, tightly cradling the baby in her crossed arms, had run till she was out of breath, and it was when she was blocked by the garbage pile that she turned to face the fury and her club. The corpse collection squad picked up the mother. The baby in its rags remained on the garbage heap, mixed with the refuse. All the gypsies disappeared very fast, all gassed, thousands of them. The family camp was emptied out. That made room for the next arrivals, not gypsies. We saw nothing more of the gypsies at Birkenau. Gypsies are less numerous than Jews. It didn't take much time to dispose of them. When reading literature of this type, you have to build both a little bit of internal resistance and empathy. The literature is grim. It's gruesome. But in order to face it, to face what humanity can be, and to hopefully become something better, I think we need to build up that internal strength to face it, and then build empathy upon that, and then build a strength to fight it and to hold people accountable. This is Ron Rutstein of Reading Past Midnight. Thank you for joining. Please hit like and subscribe to support this channel.